So welcome now to Be My Guest for another edition of Be My Guest with Mary Honan and on lyremedia.tv. And I cannot begin to tell you, it might sound like I'm just being a plumosser, as they say here in Ireland, but I cannot tell you how proud I am to have my next guest on. And that's the legend, the singer-songwriting legend, and Limerick, proud Limerick man, although he's defected to Kilkenny, Mick Hanly. Hello, Mick.
Hello there, Mary, and good to be here. Good to be here.
Sure. Listen,
I didn't defect. I was actually dragged down to Kilkenny by a beautiful wife of mine.
How long are you married now, Mick?
For 33 years.
You do less time for murder. You'd have been out. You'd have been out 15 years ago on good behaviour.
I know. Yeah, but it's great. It's getting better and better all the time. Sweeter and sweeter.
So what's life like down there in Kilkenny for a Limerick
Well,
man?
you know how it's the same as every place else with the lockdown. Now there's a bit of a more stirring in the last since Monday. There's a lot more traffic on the road. I noticed when I was walking today that the road had gotten a lot busier. And look, for me, I have to say that being in isolation is not new to me because of the what I do. I was only talking to Christy Moore the other day about it, and he said, "Yeah, you're dead right. You know, we're always kind of alone." Doing what we do, and so it wasn't a big change for me, to be honest with you, Mary. I don't. But everyone else, I could say, I felt there was a bit of a pressure cooker thing coming on there, and people needed to get out and get fresh air and stuff like that. So it's been a shocking thing for musicians. It's a terrible thing, simply because there's no live work, there's no, we'll say. So royalties aren't coming in from live performances of any of our songs. So it's been like, I mean, the bottom is falling out of it, you know, completely. And I don't know when it's going to return.
I was talking earlier on another interview about that fact. What do you think is the, I suppose, the role of companies like YouTube in preventing royalties from actually filtering to artists like yourself? Because we can't play, we have IMRO licensing and that for the artist's music. But if I put on something up on you from YouTube of you singing in anywhere, in any pub in Ireland, or any place, or anyone singing anyone singing your music, that would be taken, that copyright would be put on it, because I would be using you doing a live performance or doing a performance, and you know, it's preventing you from being seen by radio stations that might take something off YouTube. So what do you think of that?
Well, the problem, YouTube is a big problem. It's one of the platforms that is really paying artists virtually zero for their work. And there's other platforms like Spotify, Facebook, and places like that who are paying a minimal amount, to be quite honest with you. So we have a big battle on our hands. All of the royalty societies around Europe now and in America are hoping that we can, like there was what was called the European Directive was passed last year. And hopefully on the back of that, we can actually go forward and try and get some more money for creators, because to be quite blunt about it, they're getting zilch for their work. Yeah. Now it's all right for the big guys who can go out and fill Croke Park and get return for their work like that. But in general, the bottom has fallen out of that, because there's no record, there's no point in making records anymore, there's no place to sell them. The companies are still taking as much money as they ever did, even though they don't have to produce product. So there's a big injustice happening to songwriters, and I don't want to be too angry about it, but that has really what's happened.
There's a lot of anger from what I'm hearing back
Yes,
and what we're hearing back. There's
well,
a
it's
lot of
unjust.
anger.
It's very unjust, and it's very hard for a person to like depend on it. Like it was risky enough as a profession before this, but now, Lord Almighty, like the returns from any of these platforms, which are playing your songs like millions of times and paying you €100.
Well, can I just ask, maybe I'm being simplistic in this, but the way I see it would be that, just say, for instance, you were to send, we do a lot of the shows, we're hoping to be on FM, but we do a lot of our shows, the on-camera stuff will be on the internet. Now, for people like us, if a person like you, an artist like you, were to send in MP4s to people like us, and we had permission, and we had a company that we could go to and say, well, we have paid a license fee for Mick Hanley's, all of Mick Hanley's work, whether it's his live shows, whether it's his music in pubs, or whether it's his music that's sung by somebody else, that's recorded. In the case of Past the Point of Rescue, that is still one of the most recorded songs ever, you know, that you wrote. We should be able to go to a company and they should say, well, she has they give us the rights to that, to play it, and then you're given X amount of money for that, and you're cutting out, if you like, the likes of YouTube and Spotify or people like that, because the money is going to the artist rather than to
yeah. That's Mary. That's actually what happens right now. You know, that's what's happening. Is IMRO collects on my behalf.
Yeah.
If RTE play my song, it's logged and it's.
But IMRO doesn't use There's nobody will actually pay you if we play you actually physically singing in a concert or an MP4. If we play an MP4, you've got to put a blank image of Mick Hanley up on the screen, and we can play your music because IMRO has it licensed, and we have it licensed by IMRO. But we haven't your image licensed, or we haven't your performance licensed.
Okay.
Because IMRO doesn't license that.
It's getting more and more complex, to be honest with you. I don't really know the answers to it, but there's a big battle ahead for songwriters and performers indeed, because YouTube is they have very deep pockets, and they can argue they've been arguing since the inception of these platforms, as it were. And
people have tried to bring them to court in America and have lost.
Well, it'll have to be, look, all of the countries and the performing rights organizations within those countries will have to coalesce to fight this battle. Absolutely. There's no other way of going about it, because the streaming which is happening now is really taking the songwriter's livelihood away.
And I mean, it's, you know, people like us who want to do everything right and do everything, and for the artist to be the one that benefits by us playing their music, are being stifled because you can't, because even, as I say, if Mick Hanley sends us in music, you'll still get this, but yet you don't know who to turn to actually,
well,
for them not to put that stupid sign up.
IMRO are the people to go to in Ireland.
Well, we are.
I think the problem today, because of COVID, there's been a huge disruption to the industry. There's nobody at the office at the moment because of, you know, they can't turn up for work. They're all working from home, and it's not as efficient, if you like, as they're doing their best. And they only had the AGM yesterday, and God knows they've done an incredible work in the light
They're
of
amazing.
what happened, you know. And they will, when things settle down again, there's plenty of battles to be fought. But look, we leave that at that, because it's just too complex, and the ordinary viewer, you know. So.
But Mick, you're a proud Limerick man.
I'm very proud, yeah, of Limerick, and I have great memories of it. You know, of the where I grew up in St. Patrick's Road when there was no what's the call behind it now?
Fair Green?
Huh?
The Fair Green?
No, that's beside St. Patrick's Road. On the other side of it, it's all built up, and I can't remember.
Glenview and Ballysimon. Well, Ballysimon
Yeah,
is starting to build up.
all of that. There's a name
Oh,
on
Linwood
that.
Park. Linwood
Linwood
Park.
Park. That's it. Yeah. Well, all of that was all field when I was a
That's
child,
right. Yeah.
and like those being able to ramble those fields unmolested, as it were, you know, and safely and. Man, what an idyllic childhood that part of my life was really. You know, it was great. So, and up Plassey River, I used to spend my time up Plassey River, fishing and with my bamboo and myself, you know, homemade rod and all of that stuff and a big can of worms. So I had great fun, you know, and
Were the Hanleys always from St. Patrick's Road?
Well, we always from St. Patrick's Road. Well, my father was from the Long Can down
around the backdrop here.
And my granny, my mother was from the Pike.
Yeah, my mother was from the Pike.
The old cottages in the Pike. My granny lived there, and they moved then up to the Fair Green, and that's in the Fair Green is where I was born.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, my mum was from the Pike and all belonging to her, the Waters and the Listons and my
McCarthy's.
The McCarthy's.
Jackie Tin. Well, he was my granduncle.
Yeah. And Tony Hanly was your uncle.
Who?
Tony Hanly.
Tony Hart. Oh, Tony, that's right. Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Tony is
so
married.
Yeah, I have you know, very strong. And your childhood you know, memories are what form you really, I suppose. You know.
They are.
You know.
Is growing up in Limerick, was it very strong? Were you very strongly influenced by your childhood and by your life in Limerick when you wrote your music?
Yes.
Did that have a very big impact?
It did, yeah. And I go back to it quite a bit. I know that Johnny Doohan does too.
He does.
You know, and it forms a lot of my songs about my parents, maybe, or about my Uncle John, and generally the places where I were, you know, stayed in my mind for whatever reason. School being one, which I didn't enjoy, I have to admit. But
CBS, weren't you? You were in CBS.
I was. It wasn't a pleasant experience. But look at that was the times that was in it, and. You know, I still very fond of. I keep in touch with the past pupils. I don't get up and down as much as I'd like to do, but I only heard from someone the other day, Jack Foley. He played in the Limerick team, and we played together in the Harty team in 1967. So it was wonderful to hear from him because I'd never spoken to Jack since I left school, and he emailed me to say, I really like your music, you know. I said, oh, wonderful, you know. So it was, it was great to hear from him. And Pat
so Hart. You must have been extremely proud when Limerick won the...
I was extremely relieved as well because I'm nearly 71, Mary, and I thought, Jesus, if I go out of this world and Limerick haven't won I'll die.
And you down in the heart of Kilkenny.
Oh, yes.
They're very greedy down there, aren't they?
Oh, they can't win enough.
They can't win enough. My best friend's husband is from Kilkenny, with Kilmacow. And they think they'll never win enough.
No. They cultivate this. There's a feeling of entitlement.
Yeah.
Certainly a feeling of entitlement about the Leinster Championship, and they're dismissive of other teams. You know, they set, man, now with good reason, they did set the bar for quite a long time.
They did set it very high.
Oh man, they were great. You know,
you can't keep that up forever. I mean, they pretty much have for many years been dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so did you come back to Limerick for when
I didn't. I must have been doing something else, but I talked on the phone with my brother David, and we celebrated that fact. that they brought home the cup at last.
Yeah,
So
David, your brother was very well known in media circles as one of our greatest broadcasters, really.
Yeah, he was in Morning Ireland for about 25 years, I think.
David Hanly.
Yeah, he was one of the founder members of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
But Mick, tell me about Past the Point of Rescue. What was the inspiration? What was the reaction to its huge international success?
The reaction was huge relief, Mary. That was a fact. When I saw that first check, I got it. You know, I didn't believe that a song could earn so much money, and not that I made millions or anything like that. I didn't, but I did well. I did okay. In fact, it's still, you know,
giving you money.
Yeah, it still pays the rent a bit. Anyway, yeah, it was a wonderful feeling for, as it is for any songwriter, because you raison d'etre, and you're when you went out on a limb and said, I'm going to be a songwriter, which is a very risky business, and you managed to make it, you know. And it only takes one song. I'd love another, mind you, but it only takes the one song to give you that super lift. You know, I think I've written better songs than Past the Point, but that's not the point. The one that was the most commercially successful song, and it was played 2 million times on American radio, which is something phenomenal, really. Because I remember when it was played, the first time it was played for 1 million times, we were invited to the Dorchester in London, and there were, like, Paul McCartney was there, and Van Morrison, and people like that, and it was very, very strange to be in their company, you know.
And Hal Ketchum, he recorded it, didn't he?
Well, just Hal had the big hit, you know, and it didn't ever make number one, but it made number two. And it was the most played country song in America in 1992. So I got another award for that.
Hal Ketchum, I meant.
Poor old Hal is quite ill at the moment with, he has Alzheimer's and dementia, and unfortunately he had to stop playing. He got very big, but his voice is still super, absolutely gorgeous.
Isn't that such a tragic condition, Alzheimer's?
His only problem was that he couldn't actually link the songs together. I mean, he could sing them, but he wasn't able to talk to the audience or anything like that. And he was getting lost. So his wife said, look, Hal, it's time to stop. And he had to stop. I talked to him, and he's not very, he doesn't converse very much, but it was good to talk to him, you know. And yeah, he's a good friend, you know. And another good friend died there recently was John Prine. And John was a wonderful singer and a wonderful writer. And he died from COVID, you know.
Did he?
Yeah. His wife got it, and she's a Donegal woman, Fiona. And they married years ago, and they were very, very happy. They were a great couple. And lo and behold, he caught it as well, and just as she was recovering, he went into hospital, and she never held his hand again. I don't think so, anyway. Something like that.
Do you think, wasn't it awful cruel, in a sense, the way when people die? You know, we are a society that kind of, funerals are places where most people gather, and here in Ireland, and they want to be, in England, funerals are so small because they're usually invited.
No, it's a very natural thing
for people
mourn. Yeah.
who can't mourn their dead and can't be with them when they die.
Well, I think it's very important. The whole waking thing in Ireland, I think, is a great idea, because you get to live with the dead person, as it were, for a certain period of time and absorb the fact that they're gone. And, you know, and your neighbors are there in solidarity with you, and you get a chance to say goodbye to this person. But not being able to do it or doing it at a distance is kind of meaningless almost. As they've had people who've lost people through COVID have had to do, you know. It's not been nice.
It's terrible sad because I mean, yeah, I just can't understand. I can't imagine what it must be like to have somebody that ill, that gravely ill, and not be able to sit by their bed as they.
Yeah.
And as a singer-songwriter, you know, I mean, you obviously have the words to articulate how bad that must be, you know.
Well, I haven't even tried to articulate it yet, to be honest with you, because I think it's such like we've enough to deal with, as it were, you know. So yeah.
Being in lockdown, has that helped somebody like you, who's a creative person, have your creative juices started to flow? Has it?
No. To be honest with you, what I've done for lockdown is I went back to singing lessons, and I've started to do lessons in singing again. I did them years and years ago, but I never really put into practice. So that's what I've been doing since I'm in lockdown, and had a good, you know, crack at the garden this year. We did an awful lot of garden work, and I loved getting out and getting fit and all of that stuff. So I didn't actually attempt. I wasn't in the place to be creative, to be honest.
Yeah, is it funny? It's like a writer. It's like being a writer when you have that writer's block. Do you suffer from it much, or did you ever?
I don't think so. No, I actually just before COVID, right? I had worked on the songs for a show, and we're going to do it in 2021. It's about the life of Ernest Shackleton.
Yeah.
I'd written the songs for the show, and we were just about to go into rehearsals, and so that was my work up to then. I had done about half a dozen songs, and yeah, I think it'll be a lovely show when we get it on the road. I'm doing it with a man called oh God, my head. John McKenna. John McKenna. He was a producer in RT, and now he's a writer, and he's, you know, an actor. So there's a big group of us. The show will be a combination of song, music. There'll be a band. There's tunes, and a narrator and all of that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be actually singing the songs, I hope. So yeah, I was quite creative before the COVID struck, and once the show stopped, I said, do you know what? I'm going to do something different, and I went back to this girl, Liz Ryan, so in Dublin, and I'm doing it now I'm doing my lessons by Zoom.
Isn't it? But you know, don't you feel that in some respects COVID-19 and the lockdown has made people, I mean, I do all the editing for the show. I didn't know how to edit before. Well, I did on MP3s, but I didn't know how to edit on Zoom. And okay. I do all the editing. I learned how to do Zoom, and we were able to bring our station onto Zoom because we couldn't get to the station.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Do you think that you know, that you've learned things, or that you've found things out about yourself, or you've been challenged in any way since?
Well, certainly, I've discovering where to place the voice, which I didn't know before this. Now, I have an awful long way to go yet, but I have a range in my voice that's quite bigger than I thought, and that's been opened up. And all she has to do now, or all I have to do, I suppose, is strengthen it. You know,
strengthen it, yeah.
And once I get it's like strengthening, not falsetto, but just making sure the break that's in your voice when you get to those high notes, that moves into the next what
register.
we call next register smoothly. So that's kind of, I'm kind of there. I kind of know what's happening now, a bit more than I used to, which is a great learning process.
And
And I'm
it's
excited.
also better for your, I suppose, longevity with your voice, because sometimes when you're untrained, it can be great, but a little bit of training helps you to use the right.
Absolutely. I like, if you're not really able singing, you're going to be doing almost permanent singing from the right place, let's say.
Yeah.
You're going to be hurting your vocal cords a lot as you go along, and the older you get, the weaker that's going to make your voice,
As a singer, Michael, and I suppose as an extraordinary, I mean, I'm not overestimating your talent.
No, you're not. No.
No, I know I'm not. As a songwriter, because your songs are stories. It's like, more than a songwriter, you're a storyteller.
Yes.
And I suppose
Christy
Moore would also be, and Johnny Doohan.
Yeah.
You all three of you come from that storytelling genre.
I think Irish songwriters in general are really good storytellers, to be honest.
Storytellers. Yeah. And I suppose, like,
and Irish writers as well, Mary. Irish writers, we're great writers,
Yeah, we're storytellers at heart, and
that's right.
And
we love listening to stories.
Yeah, and you come from a small little area in Limerick where everyone really knows each other. It's really just a large village, Limerick, and so does Johnny Doohan. And I'm just wondering how much that, what it was that influenced you the most in your writing, and what singer-songwriters influenced you the most, and did they have a similarity in background to you, I suppose, in storytelling?
Well, I tend to go for when I started out, I was like anybody else. I was playing the Beatles songs and all of those, and I loved the new music that I was beginning to learn on the guitar. The guitar is my only instrument, by the way. And I would love to have had a musical training as well on the piano or something like that, but it just never happened. I would have loved to take in music in school, for example, but that wasn't possible in the CBS school. It wasn't taught, for example, and I was put hurling anyway, one way or the other. That was because I was probably big. Anyway, when I started out, I thought songwriting was a mysterious thing, completely. Yeah. Where do you even start? And then the Beatles came along, and I realized these are a bit like myself, they're not from, they're not over in Tin Pan Alley. They're actually writing at home or whatever, and coming up with these songs. So that encouraged me to actually feel that I could tackle it, but I didn't feel confident, I had no confidence about it, and it was mysterious to me. And I started reading about and listening very carefully to people that told stories, and the Beatles had stories to tell, like Wednesday morning, 5 a.m. or whatever, on the Sgt. Pepper. When they got away from the pop thing and started to tell stories, I loved those songs, and I thought, Eleanor Rigby, great story songs about the fireman coming in and all of that stuff. And then I kind of took up on Paul Simon, James Taylor, Randy Newman.
Is superb.
Absolutely phenomenal. I saw him last year, and it was just wonderful. But and Joni Mitchell. Wonderful writer. God, so good at everything, to be honest with you. So those are the people that really influenced me. There weren't creative writers at home at all when I was growing up. We hadn't any writers as such. And then like I'd say the breaking through there was we broke through with folk music.
Yeah.
And but when I went on the road, I toured the continent for years with Andy Irvine from
Yeah.
Planksty after the Planksty thing, and I began to feel that my music wasn't relating to what I was doing, which was going from town to town, and I was singing about as I roved out in one May morning, kind of thing. It didn't seem to connect for me. So I began to think I'd love to be able to write songs that reflect my life. So the more I thought about it, the more I moved in that direction and tried to keep the bar as high as I could. I was influenced a lot by country music as well, which I thought was
Yeah.
very simple and very storyful, you know.
Yeah. It is a narrative. It's a
Yeah,
narrative
very
style.
simple stories with very uncomplicated music for very uncomplicated people, but very effective, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I drew on all of those sources. So there was a big, and I wanted to be able to say, when the way Paul Simon would say, we're all off to America and all of that stuff. And he mentioned different towns like Nebraska or whatever it would be. And I was saying, God, I want to get Kilmallock into a song. And I want to get, Mallow or whatever it be. And it wasn't as easy. I was playing the wrong instrument for it. In folk music, you can do it. But playing the guitar and being like Paul Simon, it just didn't seem to fit right, you know. So I had to kind of devise my own language, as it were, for it, you know.
Yeah.
And
but what can you remember what your very first song was and what inspired you to write that?
I can't remember. Let's see. The first thing I ever wrote, I think, was I was trying to copy. Well, I wasn't.
Draw
I was
inspiration.
trying to copy something like there was. There was kind of rain. It was hippie stuff anyway, and I came up with the line. Jump on the rainbow was my opening line. So it went downhill from there.
there was no rainbow in
no, but it's only by this. Like, I mean, when you go back and I look at the work I did early on, which was really poor.
Yeah, but Mick, now that you're famous, those songs might have a completely different perspective.
No, they're still terrible. I'm sorry.
You might be able to reinvent them or reinterpret them or add to them or take away in some cases.
I'm not so sure. But look, you never know. I know that when I wrote Past the Point of Rescue, for example, the 5 or 6 songs, I used to keep them in numerical order and try to write 30 songs a year. And that was my
goal
target. And I know the 4 or 5 songs that came before Past the Point were awful.
Were they?
Past the Point came up, and it's really peculiar because I kept the piece of writing paper that I wrote it on, and it was in a legal pad. And the first 2 verses and chorus, I can remember from looking at them, I can tell that they were written in about 40 minutes.
I was listening to Elton John being interviewed there a while back by Graham Norton, and some of the songs that he thought were absolutely dreadful that he had written, that he had written the music for, were some of his most successful.
Yeah.
Because they resonated with somebody. Because what's bad to you, might have some absolutely astonishing and astounding meaning for somebody else at their point in their life. Candle in the Wind, he said he knew the minute he played it, he knew it was going to be a success.
Sure.
It's what is it about singer-songwriters that they know instantly, or they can make that mistake? I'm just thinking that maybe some of your songs that you thought were least successful might be successful.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. The longer you're songwriting, the more quickly you will realize that what you've started isn't good enough and that you should bin that But hold on to the initial idea that started it, right? Hold that and
Nothing's
come back
wasted.
at it when you're fresh and see does it still hold a spark for you, you know?
At what point did you say to yourself, well, CBS academia wasn't for Michael Hanly, and Michael Hanly was going to go down the route of being a singer, songwriter? And I suppose, what did the Hanleys think of it? And I mean the Hanleys, and I mean I know you grew up in St. Patrick's Road, and just a spit, if you like, away from the Pike. And I know my uncle George Waters, when he wanted to be a surgeon, they laughed at him.
Sure.
And they said, "You're not going to be a surgeon. Don't be so stupid." But he was highly intelligent, so he ended up a fitter welder and turnerite. But he always regretted not being, and you knew George Waters, but not being a surgeon. He said it when he was close to dying. He said it to me, "I could have been a surgeon, but they laughed at me."
I know. Well, I knew I wasn't for academia after 2 months in college in Dublin. I just could not. I couldn't actually integrate myself into the college. I hadn't the social skills to do it. And if you come from an all-boys school, meeting girls and things like that, I just couldn't handle any of that kind of that mixture of thing, and I didn't enjoy it and lost my way. I just completely lost my way. So I came home and I said, look, I can't do this. So I went and worked in the ESP for 2 years. And after I just took
the pensionable job.
Yeah, absolutely. I after about 2 years, I said, I spent all my time in my digs playing my guitar, and I wanted to chase the music thing, the music dream. So I just took a chance. Now, when you're young, and I suppose I was only 20 or 21, when you're young like that, you have no real responsibilities other and I wasn't really conscious of the future. I suppose I just jumped off the diving board and said, here goes, I'm going to swim across the
blind faith.
Yeah, and let things fall as they fall. It was kind of a risky thing to do in the time, but I didn't feel it like that. I just felt I'm going to make my way one way or the other. But the songwriting wasn't in my mind at all. I just wanted to be a musician and singer, and eventually the songwriting began to attract me.
Was it 1958 you recorded yourself singing "Living Doll"?
I can't remember. Living Doll. Oh yeah, with my dad. Yeah, that's right. God Almighty. Yeah, 57.
57.
Yeah.
1957.
I had to go with Living Doll with a guitar bought in Todd's.
Guitar that you taught yourself how to play the guitar.
Bought in Todd's drapery shop.
No,
it was from Russia.
From Russia with love. From Russia with love. You should have written a song called it From Russia with
Love. I'd be a rich man. But yeah, you'd need a bloody bottle of vodka to play it. It was so badly constructed,
But that's what.
Listen, do you want me to play a song?
I'd love you to play a song. Can you sing Past the Point of Rescue for Una Walsh?
I will. Do you want me to do that first?
Do and dedicate it to Una.
Una Walsh. All right.
Over there in originally from Castle Bellingham, but now living in Dorset.
Where's Castle Bellingham? Is that in Laois or what?
Louth.
Louth, is it?
Louth.
She could blow my nose.
She herself is a singer-songwriter, and her partner is a
Una Walsh. Can you hear that?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Last night I dreamed you were back again, larger than life again, holding me tight again, placing those same kisses on my brow, Sweeter than ever now. Lord, I remember how couldn't get enough of kissing. Do you know how much you're missing? No, you don't, but I do. Days like a slow train trickle by. Even the words that I write refuse to fly. All I can hear is your song haunting me. Can't let the melody out of my head, you see. Distractions I've been using. Do you know how much you're losing? No, you don't, but I do. Yes, I do. And I wonder if I'm past the point of rescue. Is no word from you at all the best that you can do? Never meant to push or shove you. Do you know how much I love you? No, you don't, but I do. I swore that I'd never fall like this again, but fools like me never win. I came to my knees again. I can't close the door on the likelihood that things might be just as good. I always believed they would. Gotta let your love invite me. Baby, do you think they might be? No, you don't, but I do. Yes, I do. And I wonder if I'm past the point of rescue. Is no word from you at all the best you can do? Never meant to push or shove you. Do you know how much I love you? No, you don't, but I do. I know you don't, but I do. I know you don't, but I do. Yes, I do. Full of us.
That is just spectacular, Mick. That truly is spectacular. Una Walsh, you can die happy now, as you said. She heard Mick Hanly singing. She said, "Oh, please, Una does a show with us here from Castlefelling." And
well, we'll give her my best. Give her my best.
I will indeed. Mick, where did the inspiration for that come from?
It's a mixture of things, mostly about my first wife, I guess, Una. Where, I'm trying to, it's about a year after we separated, maybe 2 years. No, it's a while, good more than that, sorry. A good while after we're separated, and watching other people's relationships as well. So it's a mixture of truth and lies, as it were. Not lies, but other observations, I should say. Mm. And it just happened to click. I thought, to be honest with you, Mary, that it was far too sophisticated for the American country market. I didn't know didn't bet or dream for a minute that they would pick it up, but they did.
And you're still living off it.
I bless the day.
At what point did you say to yourself, God, this is a hit?
I was playing in a place called Bad Bob's in Dublin, and I had a band at the time called Rusty Old Halo, and we used to do a regular spot there, a residency. And a guy came up to me one night after we played this song. I think it was the first night we played it, and his name was O'Connor, and I can't remember his first name, but he was the brother of the producer, or the director. What was his name? He was a film director anyway. He made a really few good films. But it was his brother said to me, Mick, that's going to be huge. So that was
Isn't it amazing when there's
that was the first time. I had no idea. The lads liked it. The band liked it as a song, and it was quite unusual as a song. But there you go. But Mary,
Yeah.
luck has a huge amount to play in the game. You know, having a bit of luck changes everything. I happened to be in the right place at the right
At the
time.
right time.
Yeah. I
And
had a
is it still one of your favorite songs, or what is your favorite song?
Oh, I've written. I think most of the songs I've written on the Homeland album, the last album I recorded. I love those songs. I really do love them because I think they're getting nearer. I'm still, as I say, trying to find my voice and trying to
Mhm.
be, to marry all those things together. But I love the songs on the Homeland album. And
Are they inspired by Limerick, or just
oh
hope?
yeah, there's one
Oh,
big long song, and I won't play it on this. Oh, mind you, you have all the time you want, have you? But there's a song on it called Patrick's Hill, which is about a family that lived in the Fair Green who left for uh, where they left for. Well, they ended up in Boston, and they worked. They were living next to my granny, and they left in the early 1950s. And I remember the Limerick pipe band coming up to the Fair Green and playing them down the street.
yeah. You see, St. Patrick's Road is just the avenue beside mine, where I live. I never moved really from the Pike.
All right, okay.
Well, I was born in England, but when I came home to Ireland, Mum crossed the road. The Pike houses were knocked. They moved across the road to St. Lawrence Park, and then you have the Fair Green next to it, and then St. Patrick's Road. So,
Oh,
as my mother would say, it's only a spit away from the Pike,
wow.
Fair Green and
Yeah,
Pike. Yeah,
that's amazing.
so I
Yeah.
live beside the O'Grady's monument.
Oh, okay. All right. I know it
Oh
well.
yeah,
Know it
so
well.
it's
Merrick's pub was there as well. That was knocked. All of
yeah.
that square. Do you know I have a brilliant photograph from a Limerick man gave it to me of Molly Ryan's pub. Do you ever remember Molly Ryan's pub?
No, but my mum always talked about
Yeah.
Molly Ryan's. All
It
of
was
them so, and I mean that's where their storytelling came from. They were always talking about Molly Ryan's and the Pike and the people that generations of
It
people
was
that.
a little triangle across from the pike, and there was a kind of an open
It's
field.
where the grass is now,
Yeah, I said, yeah. Okay,
beside
well,
Stuffin's restaurant.
there were all the houses. They were in a little triangle, and
Yeah,
there was two pubs in it. There was Merrick's pub at the
Eric's.
corner, opposite the O'Grady Monument, and that was the top of the triangle. Then you went down, and there was Molly Ryan's, and then it went up at the back, and I think there was a stonecutter's yard just up
That
from
was
that.
Keane Stonecutters. They were
Right.
they were
And
relatives.
he
They
was the
were
only guy that
they were my
played
mother's
pipes in it.
relatives.
Yeah. Well, he was the only guy that played the uilleann pipes.
He did. He
Right?
won. He and his son. They were Bill and Andy Keane. He and his son won the All Ireland Championships. They were taught by Leo Rosum, the
Yeah.
uilleann pipes,
Is
and
that
they
right?
they were also the stone masons who built O'Grady's monument to a relative of theirs again, who was O'Grady, a weightlifter, and they
Mm.
also built the Republican plot up in Mount St. Lawrence Cemetery. So they were very famous stone cutters and uilleann pipe
That's
musicians.
incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I thought the O'Grady Monument, your man was a hammer thrower.
Hammer thrower.
Is that
Hammer
right?
thrower,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hammer thrower.
But I was at Sean South's funeral in that graveyard.
Yeah, so was yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
As a
a
child,
fine graveyard.
I was coming home from school and the whole town had shut down for the funeral of Sean South. And I was up there and they had the gun salute and all the rest of it. And just that stuck in my mind, yeah.
Yeah, it's something that probably would never go from your mind. Something as
No,
epic
no,
as
no.
that.
It was hugely impressive. You
Yeah,
know, I think it was the Griffins were coming up with the black horses and they had the plumes on them and all that stuff. It was
yeah,
incredible. Amazing, amazing. The
yeah,
turnout. I think every place shot in Limerick for it. So
yeah.
there was huge Republican sympathies at the time. You know, it was the 50s.
Yeah, but my mother remembers sending a bouquet of white roses to the funeral with lots of green laurel.
My God.
And she was very specific that she wanted white roses and green laurel because he used to come into my my grandmother's house every morning on his way to CBS with my Ned Waters, and they used to share a desk. and
Right.
he'd leave his hurley in our house, and my Uncle Jack used to call him Jack South, and then he'd collect the hurley on his way home at night. And so when he was, they were very, they knew each other since they were the children, you know, they palled with each other in CBS.
That's fantastic.
And then when he died, you know, it was almost like somebody, a family member died, you know, you knew him.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But what was I going to say to you? Would you sing that song, Mick, for me?
The Patrick's Hill?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I hadn't planned to sing it. So I hope I don't blow it, you know.
Well, you sing what you want to sing.
I had planned to sing a song about a man. It's a new song. I've never really performed it, but I was going to have a crack at it. It's a song that there was about a Limerick man called Shawnee Jackson.
Okay.
And he was he used to live in the mental home, you know, where just down from the graveyard there.
Just behind the Pike
houses. Yeah, exactly. And I had this, it's only last year I wrote this, I had this kind of feeling of guilt, if you like, of, we used to try and make him follow us because he was a bit mental. And I thought, oh God, I'm getting old. I'll have to ask Shawnee for forgiveness. And this is the song that came out.
Oh yeah, that's lovely. Because we used to play in there as children in the mental hospital. And we'd go in and sit with the patients. They'd always sit in the, do you remember the little shed in the grounds of the mental hospital?
I don't really. I was never inside. My uncle, my cousin, John Dillon, had a little shop.
Yeah.
And I remember him asking me one day, I was quite young, and I was going down for a message from my mother from St. Patrick's Road. He used to run a little book for us there, and we'd get loaves of bread and things like that. But I went down, and he said, and there's one of the patients, or some of the patients, used to throw stones on his galvanized roof when they wanted to buy something. So I went down, I was at the counter, and next thing there was a rock hit the galvanized roof, and John said to me, would you ever run up the ladder and see what that lad wants, right? So I'm a little young fella, and I'm going up the ladder, and next thing this guy comes over the wall and catches me. Oh, Jesus, I nearly died. I want a box of matches, he says. And that was what he wanted, a box of matches.
Misfortune.
Oh, man. And they all had these suits, you know, these rough-haired suits.
Yeah. My grandmother had a little shop there, and they used to feed and break up cigarettes and hand them over the wall to the patients.
Okay. Oh, God. Okay, I'll try this. Now, I might, you know, I don't know. I hope I don't mess this up, if I say.
You couldn't. It's not possible.
Oh, it is, I can tell you. I recall your crazy gait, your crazy hair, your coat unfurled. One step forward, two steps back, railing at your blasted world. In asking your forgiveness now, I'm haunted by the thought I could be so spineless and so easily bought. So forgive me, Shawnee Jackson, I never meant to be your taunter and tormentor. What put the hex on me to seek you out and find you on my way from school? Forgive me, Shawnee Jackson. I never meant to be that cruel. As children, we're no innocents. From birth we seem to know the rules. Stumble and we'll fall on you. With the will, we have the tools. Your mind a mess from God knows what, emboldened by the pack. I found my own dagger and joined our crude attack. So forgive me, Shawnee Jackson, I never meant to be your taunter and tormentor. What put the hex on me to seek you out and find you on my way from school? Forgive me, Shawnee Jackson, I never meant to be that cruel. I hope you found some peace somehow, wherever you may be. Forgive me, Shawnee Jackson, this is my guilty plea.
Oh, Mick, that is beautiful.
You like it?
No, it's so touching. I mean, we've all been there, Mick. We've all done things in our past that were innocent and childish, and you'd say, God, I shouldn't have done that. But we don't all have the wherewithal and and we're not all as articulate to actually express those feelings of regret. But I think that comes again from the storyteller.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it as a song. I know it's kind of sad and all that stuff, but it's a kind of a truth, you know. So we'll see how it records.
Well, you know what they say about the Irish: their wars were happy, but their songs were sad.
That's true.
And we do sad very well in this country.
That's true.
We do melancholy better than any other country in the world. Mick, thank you so very, very much for being part of Be My Guest.
Oh, it is an absolute pleasure. Great to talk about, Limerick and the environs and all of the adventures we had. You know, I never tire of it.
And when you come to Limerick, we're in 18 Mallow Street. Just up by the park.
Oh, I see, yeah. That's where the Lure TV is then.
That's where LureMedia.tv is. We're in the cellar in number 18 Mallow Street beside the off license.
Oh, great. I can get some Dutch courage.
It's a wine shop, actually. It's a wine shop. I've been reliably informed. I know nothing about it, but it is a lovely wine shop, and we're there. So you might come in and perform live the next time you're in Limerick, and you might just say you're listening to LureMedia.tv. This is Mick Hanly. You're listening to LureMedia.tv.
I will, of course. When do you want me to say it? Now?
Now.
This is Mick Hanly, and you're listening to Lure.tv. Is that right?
Thank you very, very much, Mick. That's absolutely wonderful. And thank you again for being my guest.
No problem. I enjoyed it very, very much. Lovely to talk to you, Mary, and I wish you the best with the show and the future. Okay.
Thank you so much, and
well done.
God bless.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.